What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Haunted Beard. Thank you once again for joining me. So today I want to give you my review for I Saw the TV Glow. This is one of my more anticipated movies of the year, and I finally got a chance to sit down and watch it. And yeah, I've got some thoughts here. So this is an interesting one. It tells the story of these two teenagers who bond over this supernatural type television show called The Pink Opaque. And then one day the show mysteriously gets canceled. And I'll just start off by saying I Saw the TV Glow is a true original. And this is a film that really stands out on its own as its own unique thing. You know, you get to a point where you see so many movies and you realize how many of them just kind of sort of blend together, how similar so many movies are. How many times we've seen certain plot structures and plot devices and character arcs and all that stuff. And then to have something that really sets itself apart and is just its own creative, unique thing is pretty special. Given the current, Hollywood movie-making landscape where so many films nowadays are, the big budget studio blockbuster stuff, where, you got prequels and sequels and remakes and all that sort of stuff. It's so nice to know that movies like this are still being made. And thankfully, we have studios like A24 who are allowing creative people just the license to go make unique and fresh stuff. And I Saw the TV Glow is a prime example of that. And this is the second feature film from director Jane Schoenbrun. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, but the first film that she made was We're All Going to the World's Fair, which was a film that didn't totally connect for me, but there was certainly stuff in it that I appreciated and thought worked quite well. Now, with regards to I Saw the TV Glow, some of the highlights for me are just the overall atmosphere and visual presentation. The movie has a really nice visual style to it, to where you get these sort of flashes of very bright, vivid colors that are also mixed in with very sort of high contrast, moody lighting, shadowy lighting. And so there's just a nice contrast between the bright colors and sort of the darker, shadowy type lighting, but it works together. Just, again, I like the usage of colors, the purples, the pinks, and stuff like that. There's just a really nice visual flavor to it. And the overall atmosphere is really, I don't even know the word to use. It's kind of bizarre. It's a little creepy. It's kind of fantastical, a little bit unsettling. But it really just makes for an overall pretty interesting and unique experience. Part of this film takes place in the 90s, and so there is a bit of a nostalgic vibe that I picked up on. I'm a 90s kid, and so there's elements of it that kind of gave me a little bit of those vibes. And also, too, part of this movie has this sort of hypnotic, kind of spellbinding, almost fever dream type vibe to it as well. Another highlight for me was the character work. And the characters Owen and Maddie, played by Justice Smith and Brigette Lundy-Paine, are really well written and realized. And they are these two individuals that are just trying to find their place in the world. They feel kind of awkward and out of place and sort of isolated loners, and they're just kind of looking for acceptance and validation, and they don't really have any of it. But somehow they find each other and are able to connect over their interest and their admiration for this television show called The Pink Opaque. Along those lines, I really like how the director conveyed the character's sense of kind of alienation and isolation. That there is a scene where Owen's relationship with him and his father is established, and it's done in such an impactful and efficient way to where you can gather everything you need to know about the dynamic between his relationship with him and his dad. And it's like a 10-second scene to where you're like, oh, wow, I understand what's going on here. I really like, too, how Maddie's relationship with her family is established, and that you never see any of her parents. She never talks to any of her parents. There's one scene where you kind of hear them They seem to be arguing in the background, and you just see the look on her face as she's talking to Owen. And so they're just such a really good job writing these characters in terms of how they feel. And this is a film that you can tell the director cares very deeply about the characters that they're writing. I would certainly imagine this is a very personal film. And so she just does a really good job writing the characters and getting you to feel for them. You know, there's a part in this movie where it's like, I just wish I could kind of reach into the screen and give these characters a hug, because I feel like that's what they need, because they don't really get any sort of love or acceptance or validation from anyone. And, you know, that's what they're looking for, but they don't have that need met or fulfilled in their life. And it's kind of sad. This whole movie has a very sort of somber, melancholic type of vibe to it. But I think the way that comes across is very effective. And this film, for the most part, plays out more on the side of a dark drama than an outright horror film. And, you know, it's just about these two people who are these timid, shy people who are kind of trying to find themselves. And then there are these kind of surreal, fantastical, horror-ish type elements that are kind of underneath the surface and then kind of gradually become more revealed as you build towards the end of the movie. One of my favorite elements within horror and kind of psychological horror, and maybe you could call it a trope, is when sort of reality and fantasy, the line between those things starts to blur to where you don't know what's real and you don't know what isn't real. And I like the way the director plays into that as things along those lines start to happen in the latter half of the film. Overall, this is a film that I would say I probably appreciate and admire more than I enjoyed. I still enjoyed it and found aspects of it that I thought worked well. But it's a film that I more kind of appreciate and admire. There's still part of me that I'm not really sure what to make of it all. I'm still kind of wrestling with my own thoughts and maybe interpretation with it to a degree. I think I have a general idea on what the director was going for and kind of the main theme that they were trying to, weave throughout the film. And as I said, this is a film that's, I'm sure, very personal with the film's director, who is a transgendered individual. And you can kind of see some of those themes of identity and wrestling with your gender identity kind of woven into some of the themes of the film, certainly as it comes across to the character of Owen and some of his internal struggle and things like that. And so there is an aspect of this film that it's obviously very personal to the director and is going to connect on a more personal level to some people rather than others. But even those who maybe don't necessarily wrestle with gender identity, I think there's still something about just identity in general that everybody can kind of connect to and relate to. And it goes back to these characters as they're just people looking for validation and acceptance, which is something that every single individual is seeking. Those are the basic needs. And so just simply things of like, who am I? What type of person am I going to be? Is there anybody out there who really cares about me? Do I have worth? Do I have value? And things like that. And so there are certain things about this that I think will connect with some people on a maybe more personal or deeper level than others. There is a scene earlier on in the movie, though, where the character of Maddie says, "Sometimes it feels like the pink opaque is more real than real life." And that was a line that I felt like, I just kind of felt it. I was like, man, I feel that. There's a time in my life when I was like 16, I moved across the country. And so really left my whole life, all my friends behind. And I'm a person, I've always been kind of more shy, reserved, a very introverted person. And so moved to this whole new place completely across the country and had no friends. That was a time in my life that was a little more challenging, but I just remember I watched so many movies that next year or two. That movies were kind of there that got me through this sort of difficult, challenging time to where it was like that became sort of the escape that I needed to kind of, forget that how much I was missing my friends and stuff like that. And so there's part of that line in the movie that I was like, yeah, I feel that a little bit. I kind of know what that's like to kind of retreat and escape into these movies and this world to try to, find some sort of, I guess, happiness in a way. So yeah, anyways, yeah, this is, like I said, this is a unique one. It's just, it's so different. It's so uniquely its own thing. And while there are parts of it that I'm still kind of wrestling with and not really sure how to understand, and some of it maybe doesn't totally fully connect with me, I do think it is something that is pretty special and pretty different, and I really appreciate it. So I feel like giving this one a grade is kind of doesn't even really do it justice, because it's just, again, it's such this different sort of thing that putting a number on it is like, what's the point? But I did enjoy it. I would recommend it if you really want to see something pretty different. And yeah, anyways, those are my thoughts. Hit me up down below, though. Let me know your thoughts. This is a pretty bizarre one and a different one, but is pretty cool. And so, yeah. Let me know your thoughts down below. Would love to hear from you. That is all I got for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you got anything out of this review, go ahead and do me a favor, and do not click that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.